My goal was to show people you can be modest and be into like that makeup world. Like looking back, that's not possible.
How was your relationship like with God during that period?
I thought I was religious back then, but I was not at all. She said, that's not appropriate, like the lifestyle, the gathering, it's like haram. And I was like, oh my God, it's so dramatic. I'm not doing anything wrong, it's just makeup. But you don't realize how much it's taking you away from everything. And then at the time, we really wanted a daughter. So I made this promise with God, if you bless me with like a healthy baby girl, the minute I find out the gender, I'll put it on. I'll do this for you, just do this for me. We found out that we were having a girl, hung up the phone, and Zayn's like, you realize what that means, right? And I was like,
What are some of the struggles that the typical hijabi would feel on a day-to-day?
Some days you just don't feel confident. Some days you just question why you have it on. There's days of highs and lows. For some girls, that would scare them and think, oh, I should just take it off then.
The makeup industry has these girls in a chokehold when it comes to beauty standards.
I used to pick myself apart on social media, like the way I looked, and comparing myself to all these girls that had like filler and all of these things in their faces. Do I really want to be looked at as this person that I'm not? This person who's very shallow into their looks, wanting that validation from people? Because that's not at all how I am inside. You post a picture of yourself, what are you looking for? Like, what do you want? You want people to tell you, yeah, you look so pretty? I started to feel like stupid.
Moving on in your life, you still want to have that online presence, or do you think that's it?
See, like...
Thank you guys for taking the time out of your day to listen to this podcast. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to speak to all these amazing people and give you the conversations that you want to listen to. The only thing I'll ever ask from you is this. Hit the subscribe button, and if you enjoy what you hear, like the video, and I will do my absolute best to make this the best podcast it can possibly be. Charlene has been on a roller coaster ride with her hijab, social media, makeup. Her spiritual journey kind of helped her expose all these things that we're caught up to in our day-to-day life. But you'll hear the full story from her. With that being said, let's get the show started. Welcome aboard Middle East Airlines.
والمتوجهة إلى
طيران الشرق الأوسط يرحب
مدينة القدس العربية.
Charlene, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Charlene, I want to start this off like I always do with some self-reflection.
Okay.
So when Charlene looks in the mirror, who does she see?
That's a lot right off the bat. Okay, I feel like this has changed so much over the years because I feel like I've gone through so much change. But I see obviously a wife and a mom of 4 first. And I'm very cautious, deep thinking, God conscious, of course. Just trying to like keep my kids and my family prepared for the hereafter. But then I also just see like a goofball at heart and a little kid that's just going through like life experiences like simultaneously with my kids.
Okay.
For the first time.
How old are you?
32.
Okay.
Almost 32. Okay. I forgot for a second.
So still a lot of experiences left to go.
Inshallah, yeah.
And the podcast is called Not From Here. And I'm very interested to know how Charlene and her family made it to America.
Yeah. So my parents both came here when they were kids. My mom when she was, I think, around like 5-ish. I think my dad when he was around like 7 to 9. I don't know exactly.
Very young.
Yeah. Well, they were kids for sure. And yeah, they just came here with the same dream as everybody else, hopefully to try to, you know, make a life. They didn't have much, both of my grandparents, but my mom's parents kind of made like a living for themselves. They were in like the gas station, you know. And then my dad's parents lived a very, very simple life, like very humble life. And so, yeah.
And that was you growing up in that simple life?
We kind of grew up more towards my mom's side where it wasn't as simple. But I didn't appreciate like the simpleness of my grandparents' side till I got older.
Okay.
And once like they passed away, I realized like, man, that was a simple life. Like that's the goal. So.
What's your relationship like with back home?
I actually have never been.
Okay.
And I'm dying to go. Like I want to go so bad. I feel like I see so much of it and everybody talks about it, and I want to go so bad, but you know, it's always something over there.
So that's so interesting. You've never been. What's kind of the image that you have in your head when someone says Lebanon in front of you? Where does your mind go directly?
My mind goes back to like the old days when we were living like simple life.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody just hanging out together. There's no like competition. It's very village-like.
Okay.
I don't know if that's accurate, but
So you imagine more of the village than the...
yeah.
Okay.
And that's why like I want to visit so bad to see that part of it.
Okay. You've been on quite a journey, and I got introduced to you through your hijab stories. I saw them.
Yeah.
And I want to get to your hijab story, but before getting into your hijab story, I want the pre-Charlene putting on a hijab. Okay. How did that lifestyle look like?
So I got into makeup when I like fresh out of high school.
Okay.
And so my dad gave me like obviously restrictions. He said like you can't just do that. You have to get your education. So he told me like you can make it a side hustle. I don't think he thought it was going to be anything, but it ended up like blowing up to the point where like every weekend I had clients come into his house, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday just doing clients all day.
This was you still
at my dad's
fresh out
house.
of high school.
Yeah. And I was getting to know Zayn, so it was like all very fresh, but I was Zayn, my husband.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was doing out of my dad's house, just taking clients. And I did that until I got married, which is like about 3 years later.
Okay.
And then I started working at Salon West in West Dearborn. And then from there and on, it was just makeup, beauty. I was doing YouTube tutorials. I was doing like very heavy on social media.
Okay.
I was on like PR lists and things, and they were, you know, they fly you out to places to be a part of brand things. Like I flew to California a couple times for these conventions, these makeup conventions. You'd meet all your favorite like bloggers and influencers, and it was like a big deal. And so I was doing that, and I was trying to climb that ladder. Like I wanted to be there. I wanted to be very well known in the makeup world.
What attracted you to makeup?
I love art. I feel like I'm an artist naturally. I love to draw. I love to paint. And so it kind of, and I've always loved like fashion, beauty. I was very girly, you know, so it kind of just all came together. And I just, once I started doing it randomly one day after high school, I was like, wait, I'm actually good at this. So I took it as like, well, you can make good money and I'm good at it, so why not? And so that's what my dad was like, okay, side hustle, you can't make this your thing. So while I was doing all of that, I was also in school studying criminal justice, which is like the complete other side. And I was working at a law firm during the week and then the salon on the weekends.
Okay.
So I was working like pretty much the whole week, just like a double life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just full of that glamour that, like back then, social media was like Instagram. If you were a makeup artist and one of the companies, like I'm sure you've heard of like Huda Beauty, for example, if she reposted you, your following like just skyrockets.
Right.
So that kept happening. She kept like reposting a few of my videos and other brands too. And then it just like, that's how I gained my followers.
Yeah.
And I got up to like, I think 38,000. And that was like at its peak. And then I was like, I started becoming like obsessed with the numbers. Like I need more. I need to be like a famous influencer. I want like, my goal was to show people like you can be modest and be into like that makeup world.
Okay.
But I don't think, like looking back, that's not possible.
During this blessed month, a lot of us change our sleeping habits. We tend to stay up late more, to eat, worship, or just spend time with family and friends. When you change your sleeping habits, that's accompanied a lot of times with changes in your performance during the day at work or at school. It's important to keep track of these changes and stay on top of them. Whoop is the only fitness wearable that I know of that takes your observation of the month of Ramadan into consideration. To try out Whoop for 30 days for free, go to join.whoop.com/notfromhere to check it out. And now, back to the episode. What kind of toll does it take on you being in this very fast-paced life where you're constantly chasing that dopamine hit, those numbers?
Mm-hmm. You're always critical of yourself. I was very hard on myself. If I didn't meet the numbers or if I didn't get that engagement like per post, it would put me in such a bad mood, bad funk. I'd have to like pull myself out of it. I'd be discouraged to like post the next video. It would just get very frustrating. You'd start comparing yourself to other influencers, you'd question your work, you'd question everything if you're good enough. It's very toxic. So,
and this was constantly. How was your relationship like with God during that period?
So we grew up very, I would say, strict in certain things, but so like my mom was very strict with the way we dressed. We couldn't wear anything that was revealing, no shorts, no, short things from the age of 9. So she was very strict that we dressed modest, and we like fasting, praying, and just like be good, no boys, but that was like about it. We didn't have that like connection and like love. Like we didn't know the stories. We didn't know all that deep stuff. And so I feel like it was just average. Like I always thought I thought I was religious back then, but I was not at all. Okay.
And that was Charlene. Like that's how you looked at the faith.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I just didn't have that connection. It was just like we're just doing our duties, like fasting, praying, what everybody else in the city does. Like,
did you think chasing those numbers started affecting your relationship with your partner? Being hyper obsessed, you got married very early then. If after high school 3 years, that means you were like 21, 22.
Yeah, I was 21, he was 23.
Yeah, when you got married. So very early on. And I'm probably sure now you look at 21-year-olds as babies. Yeah. Right? So you're basically a baby chasing these numbers while getting introduced to real life, Now you're in charge of a household. Yeah. Yeah. How does that affect the relationship?
I feel like before we had kids, we had like a good 3.5 years of marriage with just me and him. And we were not it was just very fun. It was very like, it wasn't like you need to do this, you need to cook, you need to clean. Zayn's very laid back. So, and he was very supportive always of everything. He never got like, oh, you can't post this, you can't post yourself, or it just became like, just don't let it affect you like that. You're good. He just used to like pull me out of every funk, basically. Okay. It never really affected us like that, because just the way we were so easygoing and we just like had fun all the time. Yeah. There wasn't like requirements like that.
So you didn't feel like it kind of affected the relationship in any way?
No, alhamdulillah, no.
That's good. Then what happened for you to shift your mentality? Because when you're going all in on this career and on the followers and on the likes, it's very hard to kind of snap out of it, because, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, I feel like when girls approach social media, there's a lot of support from other girls. Like other girls really like pour in their support like crazy. It's difficult even to see if you're doing something wrong. Yeah, exactly. Because of all that support. And I realized that girls give way more support than guys would do with guys, So when you're getting all that support, and I'm pretty sure you got a lot of it from all the people that your friends, seeing these big influencers repost your stuff, it's very like, oh my God, Charlene's actually gonna make it, Yeah. So how do you snap out of it?
Like everything gets clouded because you get all of that support and you don't see from the outside that you're doing anything wrong. You don't see. I think the only times I ever felt that guilt was like if a family member, like an older family member, told me like one time my grandma told me when I went on one of those trips, she said, that's not appropriate, like the lifestyle, the gathering, it's like haram, you can't. And I was like, oh my God, it's so dramatic. Like I'm not doing anything wrong. It's just makeup.
Yeah.
So you don't see that you're doing anything wrong. You just think, oh, it's just a bunch of girls having fun, makeup. Like we're not harming anyone. But you don't realize how much it's like taking you away from everything. So.
And how'd you snap out of it?
I think it was like a gradual thing. I feel like the biggest thing of all is I plateaued on social media. Like it wouldn't rise, the numbers.
Okay.
And then I kept getting frustrated. Why is it not growing? Why is all of a sudden there's just like a halt to everything? I kept questioning. I know I'm good. I have talent. I have skill. Why am I not thriving? I see these girls thriving over like content that's just like clickbait. Why am I not thriving when I'm actually putting in the work? I'm actually doing these tutorials. I'm giving genuine like helps in the makeup field.
And I'm guessing you're making a lot of money too.
I actually wasn't, no.
Oh, really?
Oh, with makeup clients, yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Like social media, no. I wasn't.
That's what I meant with the clients.
Clients, yeah, I was making a lot of money. Because it's like an insane amount that you charge per client. And so, I mean, back then it wasn't as bad as it is now, like price-wise. But it was still a lot of money for my age. And so everything like kind of stopped. And I was getting frustrated. It makes you start to rethink everything. Like, why is this happening to me? What's going on? So it naturally just caused me to think, like, what am I doing something wrong? Does God want something for me? And around that time, that's when we started like having kids. So I got pregnant in 2016, had my first in 2017.
Okay.
And so around that time, naturally, things kind of like settled down a little bit in the makeup side of it because I had like now a child to take care of. And I left the salon right before I gave birth and I started working from home, taking my clients. And I tried to juggle like the clients with the tutorials and the baby. It started to feel like a lot. And then I got pregnant again shortly after. All my kids are back to back.
Okay.
So my second one kind of like put me basically on bed rest. So again, naturally, it stopped me from a lot of things. So I couldn't do these tutorials like I did. Everything started slowing down. And then I had started thinking around like after I had, because like when I was younger, I used to always say after I have maybe 1 or 2 kids, I'll think about putting on the scarf.
So it was a thought before?
Oh yeah, it was a thought when I was 8, when I was 16. Like I always wanted to do it, but naturally I think like the older generation was scared of us doing it so young.
Really?
So they were like, just take your time, wait, maybe you're not ready yet. And then it kind of like, you know, I never got that push like, yeah, go do it. So it just kind of went back to the way.
So you would get close to wanting to put it on?
I'd want to.
Okay.
I always had this love for it when I was a kid. I'd like watch my mom do it. I would love how she, you know, but it just like nobody ever gave that push to do it.
Yeah.
And so I always loved it. But then I always said, okay, if I didn't do it when I was younger, maybe after I said, I don't want to do it before I get married. I want to like have a wedding, you know, all that.
Yeah.
And I said, maybe after I have a kid or 2, I'll put it on. So that's when I actually started to think about it. Like, okay, now I'm like 2 kids in, like maybe I should start thinking about it now. And so I did, but there was always that like, I don't know. I don't know if I could do it. That's a big step. Like the older I got, the harder it got.
Yeah.
Because you get like set in your ways, you know? And so then 2020 came and nothing had happened yet, like the whole pandemic thing. But I was actually, sorry, let me backtrack. I was thinking about it for like a good year and a half, 2 years.
Okay.
But I was too scared to do it.
Do you talk to anyone at this point? Do you tell your mom, I'm thinking about putting it on? Do you tell your husband?
I didn't. I left it a surprise for everyone except for my husband. And only 2 of my cousins knew about it because they were also thinking about it too.
Okay.
So we would talk about it amongst us.
So the struggle in your head, you don't tell anyone about?
Yeah, no, not really. Just I tell Zayn everything, but I mostly keep everything to myself.
Okay.
I just feel like I could just process things and rationalize things better that way.
Okay.
So I kept saying, okay, I need to just like do it. Maybe by Ramadan I'll do it. And then at the time we really wanted like a daughter. So I made this promise with God, and I basically like on my prayer rug said, like, if you bless me with like a healthy baby girl, the minute I find out the gender, I'll put it on. Like I won't even think about it. I'll stop the contemplating. I'll stop the thoughts, because I thought about everything. Like if I am gonna put it on, like what's my life gonna be like? How am I gonna carry myself? Can I do makeup anymore?
What are those thoughts? Tell me about them.
They were all such like silly little things, but like
I don't think they're silly though. That's the point.
it's like the day to day.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the way that people see me.
Yeah.
They saw me as this like fun, funny, cool, easygoing girl. Is that gonna change? Are they gonna suddenly think I'm just this uptight religious person if I have a scarf on now? Like am I gonna be treated differently? The way that the way that I used to dress, the car that I used to drive, is that going to affect the way, you know, like, is it going to be, because I used to drive a Challenger. So like how would that look if I'm driving around? Like I thought about everything, every detail.
You knew you had to change your lifestyle as soon as you
did.
put it on.
So that's why I kept like stopping every time I was, you know. And
what
so,
were your main concerns with putting it on?
Just a new way of life, like having to refine myself, because when I put it on, I was 27. So by that time, you pretty much like, you're set in your ways, you know. You have to refine your style, the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, everything. You have to just like So I was scared of that. I was scared of my kids, like being out with my kids. Are they gonna feel a certain way now that I wear a scarf? Being out with Zayn, because like when me and Zayn got together, we were just this like couple that was young in love. Like we looked like two little kids.
Yeah.
Is that gonna change now? They're gonna look at us like this uptight religious couple now? Like I thought about everything.
Okay.
So yeah, I said if I find out that it's like a girl, the minute I find out, I'm gonna put it on. So again, nobody even knew I was
Thinking
pregnant.
about it.
I wasn't even pregnant when I made that prayer,
Okay.
that dua. And then I didn't tell anyone I was pregnant. It was a secret. And so we found out that we were having a girl, and you know, we were so excited. We got the phone call and then hung up the phone, and Zayn's like, you realize what that means, right? And I was like, oh my God, that's right. And so he was like that's it, khalas, you have to do it now. And I was like, I know, oh my God, like it got real.
Yeah.
So
When you made that promise on the prayer rug, did you think it was going to happen? Deep down, did you think it was going to happen?
I didn't think about if it was going to happen. I just wanted it so bad. I wanted a daughter so bad that I was willing to give up everything, you know? Like, I feel like I was just willing to give it up. Like, I'll do this for you, just do this for me kind of thing. So it got real when it actually happened, and I almost chickened out, but I was like, I can't. Like, God gave me this blessing. How am I gonna say no? So a couple days later, I got like all my things together, and I just we had a wedding the day before I put it on. The night before I put it on, the night before, and I like surprised like my mom and my like my grandparents. And then the next day we had a wedding. That was like the show, the showing everyone like I put it on. So that was like a crazy experience.
Talk to me about the day that you walk out of the house with it on. Do you feel weird? Do you have second thoughts?
I always had the mindset that once it's on, it's on. It's not coming off.
Okay.
So like I knew the minute I put it on, like that's it. There's no turning back. So I put it on the night before to go like show my mom and my, you know, my family. And
how was the reaction like?
When I first stepped out onto my porch, I turned back, I looked at Zayn and he couldn't come with me because one of the kids was sick. So he stayed with them, and he told me, you just go. And I looked back at him, and then he's like, just go, you got this. And then on the way there, like to my family's house, he calls me and he mentions my grandparents who had both passed away. Immediately I started crying because he was like telling me they'd be so like proud of you, so happy. And I was like, man, like I wish they could see this. So I started crying. I had to compose myself. I get to my family's house, and then everyone starts like, oh my God. And then again, start crying. It's like waterworks. You don't know what to do. You just cry. Yeah. So yeah, it was a very beautiful moment. But then the next day was overwhelming and like nerve-wracking because it's like everyone in the city was at this wedding.
Yeah.
So There's a lot of different reactions.
Good or bad? I mean, pretty sure good. Were
Most
there
of them
bad?
are good, of course. Some of them were confused, like why are you wearing a scarf? We're at Greenfield Manor. Like, what are you doing?
Mm.
And I was like, I'm wearing a scarf now. And they're like, what? Like, they were surprised. Some people, like, I would see them look from a distance, confused, but they wouldn't, like, I don't think they
Approach you
wanted
about
to, yeah, they didn't want to ask. But most of it was just, like, crazy support. And then I had posted a photo that night or the next day. I think, no, that night. And it was just so much support. I got, like, overwhelmed with support from the community. And then that whole weekend was just, like, up and down of emotions. Like, I couldn't. One minute I was crying, one minute I was laughing.
Crying why?
Because it's just such a big decision.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just the emotions just took over. Mind you, I was also pregnant, so
Yeah.
natural hormones. So, yeah.
So that's the story of how you got it on.
Mm-hmm.
But you talk about the lifestyle change. There's a change where you were big already on social media.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you had tutorials on YouTube.
Yeah.
All of these things. How did you take care of your digital footprint? Because I feel like that never really goes away.
Yeah, so I always knew one day when I put it on, all this stuff that I'm putting in, the effort and the work is going to have to come down. So, but I knew that. I knew I was basically just doing this for nothing kind of thing.
Okay.
But I always thought, okay, well, if I'm making my name though, so if I put it out there, even if I have to take it down, it's okay. Like, I already made my name for, you know, everybody knows me, they know my skill. I built the following. So basically, the day before I put it on, I just started taking everything down, archiving everything, putting everything on private, deleting everything. The only thing that was hard was obviously like the accounts that had reposted you,
Yeah.
or those, I like reached out to them. I tried my best. Some people took them down. Others, they got so lost in their feeds, like it wasn't even, you can't even find it at this point. So that's what I did. I don't.
Were you scared at any point that I might not be able to completely take myself out of here? Because I say that because of recently, and social media is way more advanced right now too. So when a girl puts on her hijab,
There's a lot of old stuff still
a
there.
lot of the old
Yeah.
stuff are still there.
I feel like I was very modest at the same time on there. Like, I never posted anything that was inappropriate. I was always careful with what I posted. Most of the time it was just like, here up. It wasn't ever any like full body photos or anything that would be, basically it was like just photos of me with my hair.
Yeah.
So like, I did worry about that, but I did my duty and took everything down, and I reached out to those who had posted things of me, because, you know, like on Instagram you could see you're tagged,
Of course.
and if they ever reposted you, they tag you. So I just kind of filtered out from every social media platform what I could. But the fact that I didn't used to post anything that was like too inappropriate, I never had that like deep fear, like, oh my God, this is going to be here when I put a scarf on.
While you're archiving and deleting and doing all these things, do thoughts of, I wish I didn't do this, come to your mind, or no?
No, it was just, oh wait, I wish I didn't do like
This social media stuff.
No, it was more of bittersweet, like, man, I don't want to take this down.
Okay.
Because I enjoyed making these videos. I enjoyed editing. I enjoyed the photos. Like, it was fun. It's like an art. It's like a hobby.
Yeah. And were you thinking of, okay, now with my scarf on, I'm going to start making new content, and maybe this will break that plateau and I'll get all that engagement back?
So I thought, yeah, but not from a makeup point of view. I thought like it would bring me that, you know, that the more following in a way of like this new journey, being like a hijabi and being in this industry, in this world.
How did you want to change your content?
To be obviously very modest and
Okay.
show people that, my main goal was like to show people that you can be modest and still be like fashionable and still take care of yourself and still be, you know, like on social media. Like it's basically make a space for girls that were struggling with their confidence.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of girls that that either had the scarf on or wanted to put it on, but they were scared because they wanted that social media. They wanted that. So like we were trying to find a balance. I know like a lot of other fashion hijabi influencers, same thing. They wanted to have that balance. But now looking back, like that's not really possible.
Do you think that you literally said it's not possible? I was just about to ask you if it was possible. It's not possible.
It's not. No. It depends. Like the way you want to live Islamically. Like for me, everyone says you can't be perfect, and I know I'm not perfect, but like it's something that I feel like it's like the only thing I feel like I have control over is the stuff that I do and the way I put myself out there. So like I try to be almost near perfect if I could, and obviously I'm not. I'm still getting there. It's a journey.
Yeah, of course.
So
now when you look at influencers and what they're doing, what are like some of the main flaws that you see? No, like why are you doing this?
Just the flaunting yourself, a lot of makeup, and I did that when I first put it on. I used to take new photos. Like I would get dressed up, put on like a nice color hijab and a nice outfit, and I'd do my makeup and I'd take photos and, you know, certain poses, and it would be like more of like a fashion side of it rather than makeup now. I still used to make little tutorials like but it would be like toned down makeup. It wouldn't be as like flashy makeup as I used to do. Like I used to do a lot of colors, a lot of things. So I toned everything down, but it still was, I was showing myself. I was flaunting myself.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing it with like bad intentions, but it's just, you're not supposed to do that. So now when I see that, I just think like you can't have both. They just don't exist in the same world.
So what happens to that target audience that you had, that you wanted to create a safe space for? How do you kind of still get these little girls that need role models? Because unfortunately, that's the world we live in. You know, if I follow Charlene, that means there's something that Charlene is able to provide for me. I'm talking as the average person, not being your friend or anything. Like there's something this person's going to provide for me. How do you still provide for these little girls without all this, I want to call it fake stuff?
So I struggled with that because I was in such a different world prior. The world I was in was all about fake and, you know, shallow, vain, like do your makeup, take pictures, post yourself, and wait for the reaction. So it was completely different than what I was on the other side now.
Yeah.
So I struggled with finding a place. Like, what do I do now with my page? What do I do with everything? And that's where naturally when I had to take everything down because I didn't wear the hijab before and I had to start creating new content, it was like, okay, what can I do to relate now? And so I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what to do or how to do it.
Okay. But you want to provide value.
Yeah, I wanted to do something to help, you know, all these girls.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about it and just thinking about like all the support that I got and how overwhelming it was. And that weekend when I said I got emotional, like I felt like I didn't deserve all that support because there was girls who, and I always looked up to hijabis. I always was like inspired by them because I had wanted to do it from so young, but I never did it.
Yeah.
And I always thought they were just the way they carried themselves was so amazing. And so I wanted to, when I got that like support and that attention and that, I felt like I didn't deserve it. Like there was girls who needed that more than I did. Girls that were actually struggling or girls that have had it on since they were young. Like I didn't deserve all that.
Yeah.
Like I'm an adult. Why are we like, you know, like I shouldn't be celebrated that much. So I thought like, how can I like give back in that way? So that's where the hijab stories came from.
Okay.
I thought like,
for people who don't know what the hijab stories are, what did you used to do?
Basically I said, I want to give these girls that either put it on when they were young or want to put it on or have just put it on, the platform and like the stage to get that praise in that from all of my followers, because I had the platform, I had the following. I wanted them to get that same support that I got.
Yep.
So that's where it came from. I started putting out the form, like the questions and stuff, saying whoever wants to sign up. And
there was a form that...
Yeah, I made a form with like questions, and I said, if you want to sign up, like sign this Google form, and I'll send you the form, and we'll schedule you for like a week. I picked them all in advance.
How was the response to that?
A lot of girls wanted to share their story because they felt like it would help other girls. It was like everybody just wanted to help each other.
Yeah.
This, like, the hijabi world is like a huge support system. It's great. So I used to just basically, they'd submit their story to the, like, they'd answer the questions, and I'd just read off while I'd film myself just reading their story. And I had to do it that way because I didn't want to have like the responsibility of giving the wrong advice, or it's a heavy responsibility.
Yeah.
So
you just wanted to tell the story. Like,
yeah.
Hey, this person put it on for 1, 2, 3 reason. This is their story.
Yeah.
Done.
Hopefully it helps you, inspires you, gives you that push, helps you if you're struggling with your confidence. Like, I'm not a scholar. I didn't know much. I didn't want to take that responsibility.
Okay.
A lot of girls wanted to do like, what if I got on camera with you and this and that, and like, it would have been nice, but again, I didn't want that on my back.
Okay. And how was the reaction from that? Did you find that it was helping? Did you find girls reaching out to you?
Oh my God, the messages that started coming in, like the outpour, I felt like this now feels like my purpose on here.
Okay.
Like, now I think I found what I'm gonna do on here, like on Instagram and stuff. It was just like, thank you so much for these videos. It helped my confidence. It helped me see that everyone's struggling in some way. So many girls that had put it on and then took it off said, I wish that I had seen this kind of video before I took it off, because then I would have kept it on knowing that these are all normal thoughts and feelings, because there's, we touched on feelings of doubt and feelings of some days you just don't feel confident. Some days you just question why you have it on. Like, there's days of highs and lows. And for some girls, that would scare them and think like, oh, I should just take it off then. Because
why do you think those are they feel like exclusive emotions? Like, if Charlene is doubting herself that day, why does Charlene think this is exclusive only to her? Like, no one else is feeling that way. Why does she need that, like that push? Like, hey, I'm feeling that way too. Where does that come from?
Because I think in general, the hijab is just it's very lonely. I feel like even right now in our own community, with our own people, you feel like you're looked at a certain way. You feel like lonely, honestly. Even I feel it sometimes. And it just depends on their family. It depends on who they're surrounded by. A girl can have a whole group of friends that has none of them wear it, or a bunch of cousins, none of them wear it. So it makes her feel like no one understands what I'm going through. I'm just by myself in this. And then they hear it from someone who's, got more followers on social media, who was like a makeup artist, an old makeup artist in the city, and they think like, oh my God, if she's feeling this, like, they relate. It just becomes relatable.
Yeah. I think a lot of it comes from judgment, to be honest with you. So being scared because the hijab is this very holy thing, right? And it physically says that you're a Muslim, and then you have doubts about it, and then I'm assuming the thought is, how am I doubting this holy thing? What are other people gonna say if I say that I'm doubting it? And I think you're scared at that point. Sharing your thoughts means that you're not a good Muslim. That's the thought process would be, I'm assuming.
For the girls that are struggling, you mean? Yeah, that's a big part of it. And they feel very scared to like speak out. And so when I made these videos, it was all girls struggling, girls that women that had daughters that wanted to put it on. They would show them these videos and explain to them, like, this is the kind of things you're going to go through. These are the kind of struggles you're going to have, and that's okay. Like, so it was just like all walks of hijab.
What are some of the struggles that the typical hijabi would feel on a day-to-day?
From like my perspective?
Yes. Because I think your perspective is a perspective of a lot of people too.
So when I go out, I fear how I'm carrying myself. I don't want to ever look like I'm being hypocritical or not representing it the right way. Then with like strangers, I always worry what they're thinking of me. I worry about, you start to overthink. Like before I put it on, if I would have like walked through a door, slammed it open, made a scene, nobody would even think twice because I didn't have that, that look. Yeah. Now if I do it, you worry what they're going to say. Oh, here they go, the stereotypes, all the things they put on us. So you overthink everything. You have to be overly nice. You have to be like, every encounter you have, it kind of gets exhausting. But then you go home, you feel like you're living like a double life because you go home and then you feel like you're back to yourself. So it's mostly like the mental stuff like that. I don't fear, especially because we're in Dearborn, like I don't fear like for my life or fear those kind of things of getting like attacked or anything like that.
Yeah, I meant more of like the psychological warfare that happens.
Yeah, it's that stuff. It's having to like overly try when you encounter people, and then it's like when you're at home and you look a certain way and feel a certain way and you feel like yourself, and then you have to go out and cover everything, and then you feel like you're not yourself. That's the point of it. You're supposed to cover everything up, but you feel. I always feel like they don't even know the real me. Like it's like a feeling where like, it's not that I want them to see me. I'm happy that I get to cover up and I'm happy I have that power, but you feel like they don't see you the same anymore. Okay. Like for example, before I put it on, we used to hang out a lot with like family members, and certain family members, I had a very close relationship with them. And then the minute I put it on, it became suddenly very formal. So I was like, okay, I got like sad inside. I'm like, they don't see me as like this fun person to hang around anymore. Now I'm just suddenly like, what, I'm like not cool anymore. Like it starts to get at you like that, like your confidence. You start to feel like you're boring now.
Although you're still the same person at home.
You are, yeah. But because you have to put this like veil on when you go out, I can't be as goofy as I used to be before. Like, yeah. You can't laugh out loud publicly. You can't like talk loud. You have to just like,
tone it down a little bit.
Tone it down. Yeah. Which is a good thing. But at first, when you first do it, it gets at you. And then it's a struggle, like on and off throughout the years, but it gets less and less. And
do you kind of embrace this new outside personality at one point? Are you like, okay, these are the things that I want to be. I don't want to be loud in public. I don't want to show that I'm goofy and all of these things.
Yeah.
Do you kind of embrace that and be like, okay, this is only what people get to see and I'm happy about it?
Mm-hmm. So it wasn't only until like this last year that I finally started realizing, like a little bit over a year, that I started realizing like the way that I lived before, the way that all of us lived before we had like the hijab on, was we were actually the ones that were not having any power or control over ourselves. And we thought we had all this control over ourselves. It was the complete opposite. Like now you put on this one hijab, your face doesn't have a lot of makeup, you carry yourself very like modestly, classy, and you don't let society tell you what to do. Now you feel actually free. That's when I started getting more into like, abaya and modest dressing. I was like, man, this is just like, it's just so much weight taken off your shoulders. Like there's a reason why God gave us the things that he gave us, told us what to do, because he knew what's best for us. He knew this is the way that would be way less stressful for us. And so I look back now and I think about all of the standards, the beauty standards. Like I used to pick myself apart on social media, like the way I looked, and comparing myself to all these girls that had like filler and all of these things in their faces. Like that's something I won't do, but I want to do it, but because I want to look like that. But then you look back now and I'm like, man, such a different life.
And
Like it protects you from everything.
And a lot of these girls still are like the makeup industry has these girls in a chokehold when it comes to beauty standards.
Yeah. Because if you don't have a perfect canvas of a face and you're putting your face out there for everyone to always look at constantly, if it's not perfect, you would feel so ugly. You would literally, I used to pick myself apart like no other. And back when I was in it, like it was like the whole Kylie Jenner era. So it was everything that she looked like, everyone had to look like.
Okay.
So if you don't look like that, you struggle because your makeup's not going to look as good. You are not going to feel as, pretty and as cool as Kylie Jenner looks.
Yeah. And how do you start building this new relationship with Faith after you put it on? Like, what are some of the things that you personally found to be useful for you? Because I think every one of us builds their relationship in certain ways, and something that might work for you and not might work for me. And I have other ways to build a relationship, like with God. But for you, what are some of the things that you found to be like that worked?
It kind of was like a snowball. It just kept coming. Like little changes in my day-to-day kept coming without me realizing it. Like one day I would put on a shirt that I thought was fit nicely. Then the next day I'd go to wear it. Like next week I'd go to wear it and I'd say, wow, this is not like what I would want as a hijabi. Like it just kept happening naturally. And places I would go, like one day I would go there, everything would be fine. The next time I'd be paranoid. Like, should I be here? Is this the right appropriate setting? So it was things like that. Like it just kept happening. I wasn't trying. It just and then like friends, I feel like I replaced a lot of friends. I never had that many friends to begin with. I'm a very like to myself person. But I started making all of these new friends suddenly that were very modest and very like we helped each other on the path, and it just like that's just how it became. So when you look back and there's like, this is where I'm at now. I can't imagine going back to that other way.
You used to do a lot of self-reflection, it feels like.
Yeah, a lot. I feel like I've always been that way. When I say I think deep, it's like overthinking, like almost like to a fault.
Do you think it drains you?
Very much. Very much. It's something that I try to work on, but it's like my brain just doesn't stop. Like if I have conversations, I'll leave that conversation, pick myself apart. Like, what did I say wrong? Should I have said that? Should I have said something different? Did I overshare? I'm very, very hard on myself.
Why?
I don't know. I think, I mean, I figure it out as I get older. I think it's just the upbringing. The way our older generation was, they were very hard on us. They were very strict, and they made our inner voices be hard on ourselves. So now every time I'm doing something, I honestly, like, there's always two voices in my head. One is telling me like something to do that could be a good idea, and one is like roasting me on the other side. Okay. So like it's just that's all that keeps happening. Yeah. And that's what was happening a lot when I was doing makeup. When I was on social media, when I was doing those things, it was like one side was telling me like, oh, that's a great idea. You'll be invited to all these things. You'd get reposted. And the other side was like, I mean, that's not really right. Do you really want your face out there like that? Do you really want to do this? What
you kind of did know though.
I knew, but it was like, you get clouded. You think like, you don't see clearly. You kind of like shush it. Like you push it like, no, stop. Like, I don't want to think about that. I just want to have fun.
Yeah. Okay. So when it came to your makeup career that you were having, because at this point you're still making money at home from these clients and all of these things, is that part of the snowball effect?
So that I put on hold because I had kids. Okay. So now I had 3 kids, and it was impossible to even do makeup anymore, like to book clients, because it was just so unprofessional. Like they don't leave me alone. Yeah. So it became just family and friends I was doing makeup for. And I always said when they get a little older and I have the time and they're at an age where they will leave me alone, then I'll start booking clients again slowly. So I had like the anticipation to go back to it.
What happened?
I don't even know what happened. It just started happening. the more I got on the path, the more I started feeling this heavy guilt. Like, this is not right. Like, what I'm doing is very contradicting. Like, it just the thoughts kept coming in. And then I started to reflect more on what I'm putting out there. I don't want to, like, do I really want to be looked at as this person that I'm not? Like, this person who's very, like, surface level, very shallow into their looks, wanting that validation from people, because that's not at all how I am inside. Like, I want to be known as somebody who's very deep and very, like, thinks very complex and rational and can offer something with purpose and value. And so when I was putting out that image of myself that's the total opposite, it started to make me feel like everything started to feel cringe.
You
like,
thought the makeup made you look shallow?
Yeah. I started to feel like people around me that weren't in the makeup field looked at me like all she cares about is her looks. All she cares about is her status. All she cares about is beauty. Like, it felt very shallow, very vain.
Okay.
Like, you post a picture of yourself. What are you looking for? Like, what do you want? You want people to tell you, yeah, you look so pretty, you know?
You know, that's a very hard question to ask yourself, probably.
Yeah. It was, again, it was very hard pill to swallow because I started to feel like stupid.
And you've done it for a long time at this point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I started to, like, again, roast myself. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? So I started to take down all the photos of myself. And then I only had client photos up at this point. This was like a year ago. I took everything down of myself and I said, I don't want that, like, validation from anyone. Like, I don't need that. I don't want that image out there of myself. And so, again, then things just kept happening. Then I started getting signs everywhere, like through friends or through conversations or encounters with, like, sheikhs or sayyids. They would casually state these things. This is haram. This is haram. You can't do this. It's not, you're going to be responsible for this. And then it just kept causing me to go deeper and deeper into, like, really guarding myself, guarding how I put what I put out there, how I look, to the point where I started to question the whole field in general. Like, why am I in this field if I'm not posting myself, if I'm not posting clients, if I'm questioning this much? Like, why am I in this field? And so when I first stopped taking clients because of my kids, I used to tell my mom, I feel like this is so, like, I want something with more of a purpose. This is so, like, draining. It's the same stuff over and over again. Same conversation, same events, same makeup, same everything. You want something with, like, more meaning to it. And so I was searching, but what am I going to do? You know, I already studied criminal justice. I'm already a makeup artist in the beauty industry. It really, like, left me confused. Like, what am I going to do with my life right now? If I stop makeup, like, what do I do? And then I started hearing again, like, conversations and lectures about how if you have these photos up, even of these girls on your page, like, that's, like, my responsibility.
Oh, really?
So that freaked me out. And I was like, oh my God, like, I never thought that was, like, a thing. Like, I didn't know I'm going to be held responsible. Like, you don't think deep into it.
And these are signs that came casually?
Casually. I never looked for anything. I was afraid to look into it. I was like, I love makeup. Like, how am I going to look into these things?
It's very difficult because since 18, that's all you were doing.
Yeah. I didn't know anything else.
So now at 31, you're looking and you really have to reevaluate
it's scary.
The last 13 years of your life.
Yeah. Even I remember when I changed my Instagram name, because it used to be Makeup by Charlene, and then it became Charmac Makeup, and that's what it was for so long. And I knew I had to change it because I wasn't putting the makeup out there like that anymore, even though I was still at that time taking clients. But I was like, this is just not, it's not a makeup page like that anymore. So I was with one of my friends, and she was like, you have to just do it. Just pull the plug, change your name. She's like, give me your phone, I'll change your name. And so she's like, go home right now, change your name, and stop thinking about it. So I did, and then I changed it to Charlene Makky, and it was, I don't know why I didn't do it sooner. Just, again, overthinking, worried, because this is what I was for so long. Like,
this is your identity at this point.
Yeah, I was afraid to detach from that. Like, who is Charlene Makky to them? They don't know. They only know Charlene Makeup by Charlene the makeup artist. Like, what do I do with myself now? Yeah. So I started getting all these signs from everywhere. When I found out that having the photos up of my clients even was on me, I got scared. I was like, I know God is merciful, and I really truly didn't think it was a big deal. I didn't think it was on me because I used to tell these girls, like, is it okay if I post your photo? And they say, oh yeah, sure, go ahead. So I thought, like, oh, it's not my responsibility. They're telling me yes, to give me permission. So then right when I found that out, I took everything down. All the client photos came down. And then it just became like, okay, my work's down, my content's down, my photos of myself are gone, my client photos, what's left? Nothing's left.
Are you still looking for answers?
No, I got my answers now.
Okay. No, I mean at that point.
Oh, at that
Even
point,
after you
yeah.
took down everything, do you still do research? Do you
When
still
I got
ask
those
around?
answers,
Do you still look for signs?
when I got those answers, that's when I started actually looking into things and looking for the answers
Okay.
and forcing myself to get the answers and not being afraid to let something go. Like at first it was, I'm afraid to let go of this. I don't really want to know the answer. Like, don't tell me, you know?
It's kind of taking a blind eye.
Yeah.
Like you want to throw a blind eye at it.
Yeah, because you don't want to let it go just yet. And it just kept like, I kept stalling. And so, you know, it's funny actually, when I was first like doing makeup, when I was at the salon, one of my friends, her mom, I was telling her about a bad dream that I had. Her mom was like super religious, very on the path, super inspiring. And so I was telling her about this bad dream that I had. And I can't remember what the dream was, but her conclusion to me was, you know, Khalto, you post all of these photos of these beautiful girls. Maybe you should reconsider putting them on your page and like showcasing their beauty like that. And at the time I was like, thank you, Khalto. Like, I appreciate that. But in my head, I'm like, oh my God, that's kind of dramatic.
Yeah.
Like, really, I'm not doing anything wrong. I was like, I'm getting permission from these girls. There's nothing that, you know. So now when I look back and I think about that story, I think to myself, man, like she knew what she was talking about. I should have listened to her.
Yeah.
And I know this is life. Like you go through things and you think you know when you're younger and you realize that you're older, you don't.
You do get the idea that everything that we're saying today is very controversial.
Yeah.
Like you can't really go out and say that makeup, no.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You're almost not allowed to say that.
Yeah. I actually, like when I said I went looking for answers at that point, the last year I've been actually like actively asking, messaging and raising my hand at lectures and asking all these questions and looking for those clear answers that are all there. We just choose not to see them. And all of the answers just lead back to the same thing. It's just not, it just doesn't align. And one of the answers I got was that makeup itself, like doing it, is not haram because it has halal purposes and haram purposes. But and I used to think I would be responsible for, because I heard once that you're responsible if you do someone's makeup and they go to like a mixed wedding, for example.
Okay.
Like that would be your responsibility. Now it's like you're taking the sin.
Okay.
So that I got the clarification on that that's not the case. Wherever that woman chooses to go is her choice. But doing it and being in the field and being surrounded by it, if you don't post and you don't do all of like the showing off of it, you're not going to thrive. So basically all of it's for nothing. Like if you don't post your work and you don't post yourself and you don't post your clients, what's left?
Yeah.
You can't just like work and have nothing to show for it. No one will trust
doesn't
you.
make
No one will come to you.
Yeah.
You just be doing makeup in secret.
Right.
So like, what's the point of it all? So I got that confirmation, which told me, okay, like actually doing it is not haram. But again, it just confirmed that I don't want to be in the field because it's almost like a pointless field for me now.
Yeah.
And then I also got the confirmation that like posting all of those photos of those girls is my responsibility and that I'm going to have to repent for all of those things. So yeah, I just started actively looking now. And some people don't want to hear the answers. I don't go out there like forcing it down people's throats.
Of course.
But if they ask me, I'll be honest.
Do you think that a lot of girls do the makeup stuff just because of pressure, and then they really need a voice to tell them like, hey, no, you don't have to go all out on makeup for you to look pretty, for example? You know, do you think that's a hidden voice that is not out there yet?
Well, I think now the trend is less makeup, but it's still a lot of makeup.
Okay.
So I don't think it's like an insecurity thing now, but I think all the girls that do makeup, like, it's more of a quick fix, easy money. If you're good at it, it's fun. It's a fun lifestyle. So why not, kind of thing. That's where I was at. Like sure, I have this degree, but it's like I'm gonna stick with makeup, you know, because it's like it's good money.
And it's hard to drop something that's bringing you in that much money.
Yeah. I worried a lot about that when I initially, like, when I was thinking about stopping and thinking about just altogether quitting the field. I worried about, you know, like, I worried about what my husband would think. Like, that's actually the only person I was worried about, because we are one household. We're, you know, we're a team. So, like, I worry, like, am I just being reckless and giving up all of this income just to, like, for what? Like, I struggled if I was making the right decision. But
what was his thought process?
I was scared to tell him because he was always my biggest, like, you got this, like, you're doing awesome, keep it going, like, you're so successful. Like, he was very supportive. So I was worried I was gonna, like, let him down. But when I told him, he was just, you do whatever you want to do. If you feel like it doesn't align with you anymore, I'm 100% supportive. So when he said that, I felt like 100 pounds was, like, off my chest. And then I just, like, that was, like, the final confirmation, like, halas, I'm gonna stop. And then I just struggled, like, how am I gonna say that I'm not doing makeup anymore? Like, I struggled with how to, like, announce it.
Do you think that you leaving makeup leaves room for people to cast their judgment on you?
In what way?
Because, see, a lot of the things that you were saying were like, before I put on the hijab, I was worried that this person would look at me and say, oh, I'm going to be, like, stuck up, or I changed and I'm not fun anymore. Mm-hmm. And then I feel like the same would happen now, where you're like, you know what, I'm dropping makeup too. And then people are going to be like, look at this girl. Charlene thinks she's better than everyone else. Now she doesn't want anything to do with makeup anymore. Yeah,
I that's something I still, till now, like, ever since the more on the path you get, the more noise you hear, the more opinions get thrown at you, because nobody wants to see you, like, put all that to the side. And it's like they want to see you. I don't know how to say it without it sounding like mean.
But say it.
And, like, fine. Bad intentions from people. But, like, I truly think as humans, no one ever wants to see anybody doing better than them. And it's like a voice we constantly have to, like, check ourselves with.
I can look at Charlene and see that she's doing better than me, and I'm saying, like, religiously or on the path, and I can be like,
which I'm not. I'm still a work in progress.
Of course, everyone is, but I can see that. And the example is like, okay, let's say I'm a girl. I'm seeing what you're doing. You're leaving all these things. You're changing the way you look. I can look at that and be like, she's stuck up. That's so annoying. Or I can be like, that's so inspiring. Yeah. Let me work on myself. You know, there's two ways to go about it. So I do agree with you that a lot of people hate to see someone doing better than them, but that's their problem, to be honest with you.
That's what I'm realizing.
If I look at my friend and he's doing better than me, that should make me want to go and get better myself. If I see my partner doing better than me, or like really taking care of their religion, that should tell me, like, hey, do something about it too.
Well, a lot of people don't have that self-awareness.
No.
And, like, the ability to just, like, keep themselves in check like that.
And it's easy to say Charlene is stuck up than saying,
it makes them feel better about themselves.
And if they want to say that Charlene is right, what she's doing is right, that means in that same breath they announce that they're doing something wrong. And I don't think anyone wants to believe they're doing something wrong.
But see, I struggle with that now, because, and this is where it bothers me, and I try to, like, shut it down, but it still bothers me. I still care what people think about me, because I don't ever want to be labeled as something that I know I'm not. Like, I know that I'm not trying to be better than anyone. I know I'm not, like, arrogant. I know I'm not Like, I try so hard to not show those traits. But then you still hear, like, okay, you're an extremist now. Like, you don't have to go do all that. You don't have to stop makeup. You don't have to, like, come on. Like, who are you asking? These answers are too much. Like, why are you doing this to yourself? Like, it's, like, such a negative thing now. Like, they think I'm closing myself off from the world. But
in reality, from what you're saying, it's kind of letting you be more of yourself.
Yeah, it's, like, freeing me from all of these things that, you know. So I struggled a lot with it because growing up, and I told you how I always wanted to wear it from a young age, and I looked up to all these other influencers or women that I saw in public that wore the hijab. Like, I admired them. I always thought, like, man, they look so beautiful. Like, I wish I could have that confidence. I wish I could do that. I never once, like, was hating on them for it. So when I had that mindset, it's hard even till now to see any other mindset than that. Like, when I see people be negative about things, it bothers me because I knew that I don't see it that way. Like, how do you see it that negative? Yeah. It's like, it's something I still struggle with.
And back to you feeling more of yourself, the more you're on the path. Now take it the other way, and you look at how society is in general, and you see the way it's going, and everyone doing these things in the name of, oh, we're doing what we want. We're actually not restricted to anything. But when you really look deep into it, they are kind of restricted.
They are.
You know,
they are like slaves to
trends,
society.
Yeah, exactly.
Trends.
Yeah, like
everything.
Like, they're so hooked and they're in handcuffs basically, and they want to make you feel like you're the one that's in handcuffs. But at the same time, you go home, you have your husband, you have your kids, you're living life exactly how you want to live it.
You're relaxed. You don't feel like you have to put on all this makeup and dress yourself up and buy all these things and do, like, you feel so much more relaxed. Like, I just throw my hijab on, throw my abaya on, or my modest clothes, and I just go. Like, it's so much less stress. It's like, and the women that wear, like, full covering, like, it's probably even more amazing of a feeling. Like, no effort whatsoever. Yeah. You just worry about you and God, and that's it. So it's just freeing you from everything.
What would you tell a girl that wants the exact same things that you're talking about right now, but she feels like all this pressure from her friends and from society that are pushing her the other way?
That it gets old really quick and the grass is not greener. And when I did the hijab stories, I used to always say that, because as someone who was on both sides, I feel I never, like, yes, it was fun and I enjoyed, like, putting makeup on and taking those photos. It wasn't on the day-to-day. I never put makeup on. Like, I never looked like that, like my photos.
Oh, okay.
I was a very, like, I used to have fun, like, doing my hair and stuff, but it wasn't everything to me.
Okay.
Like, it gets old really quick. Like, it's not something, like, you do it, you think that you're gonna, like, let's say the girls that take it off, they think that they're gonna be happy, and then they end up not being happy because they realize the grass wasn't greener. Like, it's just, everything gets old.
And there are too many stories of girls taking it off and being like, damn. Like, we really thought this was going to be our moment.
Yeah, and it's not, because on top of that, everybody's doing the same thing. All these girls are dressing the same, looking the same style. There's no originality anymore. So, like, let's say you go take it off, or you're afraid to put it on, and you're doing all the, like, what gives you the confidence? What gives you that feeling of feeling good about yourself? Everybody looks the same.
Yeah.
Versus when you have it on, you feel like you're shielded. Nobody can see what you look like. Nobody knows what you look like. It's like a superpower. And then, yeah.
How do you kind of, now you gone through all this, and now you have a little daughter of your own, are you already kind of try to prep her for this community or, like, the society that she's walking into?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I see how these little girls are now, especially the young ages, like 8, 9, 10. Very few of them care about God and religion. It's all about trends. These girls are so different. They're growing up exposed to way too much social media. They're getting on these trends that we didn't even think about till we were adults. Like, I'm talking, they don't even dress the way that we used to dress at like the age of 8, 9, 10. We were in like ruffles and colors and sequins, and these girls are wearing like every brand name.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm actively trying to keep my daughter from. I don't want to buy her all those brands. I don't want to let her dress a way that's not suitable for her age, because it's just going to hurt her in the long run. I don't want to hype up everything about beauty to her. I don't want her to wear makeup. And it's not like my mom ever did that with us. We weren't even allowed to wear makeup. I wasn't allowed to wear makeup till I graduated high school. It was very like modest and strict and innocent the way we grew up. But seeing the girls now, I need to raise my daughter the way that I was raised.
Does it scare you?
Yeah, but I feel like as long as I teach her that confidence and teach her that you don't do what everyone around you does, I feel like she'll be okay. And I feel like as long as, inshallah, she has me to get her through every thought, like every negative thought she has, I'll be there to negate it and tell her like, nope, this is not, let's help. I mean, what can I do to help? Like, even if, let's say she wants to put on hijab, and even if I'm scared of her regretting it, I'm going to be there for every moment she's feeling like low confidence. Like, what can we do to change up your style? Let's make you love it again. Like, it's just how it has to be.
It's a process. It's not like you're just going to love it and that's how you're.
Oh, yeah, because you grow, you change, you go through styles, you go through phases. You know, it's natural. But as long as you have someone that's like helping you keep that strength and teaching you how to love it, most importantly, like not to be afraid of it and not to be like you have to because God said so. You have to really love it. So that's like hopefully what I can do with my daughter. I don't want her to be trendy.
Okay.
So.
Okay. What's one thing that we didn't talk about today that you think we should have?
I feel like the biggest thing when I said like things didn't align anymore, it was a huge part of it was when you asked me like ultimately what made me just like stop. The final, aside from getting that reassurance from my husband that like if you want to stop, you stop. But I started to feel like I was working against God.
In what way?
Like God commands us in the Quran, in this verse, in Surah Nur, to wear the hijab, hide your adornments, cover up. And here I am doing the complete opposite and telling girls it's okay to do the opposite and then making profit off of it. It really felt like I was doing what God's telling me, like God's telling me to do one thing, I'm doing another, and I'm making profit off of it. So I felt like I was working against God. And when I thought about it from that way, I was like, okay, this feels very, very wrong. So it wasn't about the act of it actually being haram, doing it or not.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that
you were just going against God.
Yeah. So ever since I've decided that I'm not anymore, it's been, I need to now do things to work for God and, you know, in every way.
It seems like at each stage of your life, you tried to be out there on social media. You wanted to provide some sort of value. Before you put on the hijab, it was makeup tutorials, all these things. After you put on the hijab, it was hijab stories, bringing the beauty of the hijab and the stories and the struggles behind it. Do you think that part of your life, that aspect of your life, contributed to you feeling pressured all the time? Like what are people going to say? Because you're kind of now used to people always giving input on everything you do. Yeah.
It makes you think about people and every step you take and every decision or every thought. It's like, what is people going to think? How am I going to be perceived? But it gets exhausting thinking that way and being that way.
Okay. So if you could go back to 18-year-old Charlene before she told her dad she wanted to do makeup, right before she had that conversation, what would you tell her?
See, like everything happens for a reason.
Exactly.
I don't know if I would change anything because I feel like everything led me up to this point. Obviously, I would want to take back the things that I'm going to have to repent for. But I would maybe push to go into something else and not be so, like, keep that as a hobby.
Okay.
Don't make it your whole career. Because looking back, I just feel like it was a lot of wasted time. Wasted time religiously, wasted time doing the work and all of the filming and editing and tutorials. And it was just so much work that I wasted for nothing.
Do you feel like moving on in your life, you still want to have that online presence, or do you think that's it?
No, I think that's it. Once I came to the conclusion that, like, that's it. That's why I'm not posting and I'm not active anymore, because I don't know what to do with my page anymore. Like, I feel like that chapter's kind of closed, and now it's just, I want simple life. I want something quiet. I want something with meaning and purpose. And so I'm working towards that, but I'm kind of just like starting all over with everything. So
it's like you're rebuilding your life from the ground up.
Yeah. And even though I did study a different degree, I'm completely switching gears. I did go back to school. I'm picking something that serves purpose, that has God in mind. And I feel like a way that I can make, like halal living.
Yeah.
With God always on your mind. Versus the way I was before, never on your mind.
That should be inspiring for everyone, for anyone that's listening, especially like hijabis, like from someone that has gone through it all, has chased the numbers, chased the comments, lived all that, and then you go back to, okay, I'm done. I don't want anything to do with the social landscape anymore.
It's just a prime example of how everything gets old. Everything, if it's not surrounded around God, it's not good for you. You're going to eventually not want it. That's what I believe.
So the takeaway from you is that the makeup industry is very toxic.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can't be a hypocrite and say I didn't have fun. It wasn't a good time. I have great memories. I built amazing relationships with clients, with people. Everyone still knows me as Charlene, the makeup artist. But like, even when I was working and when I was at the salon, like, a lot of my coworkers would go out and have fun, and I wouldn't go out with them. And I was always afraid they're going to think like I'm stuck up, snobby, that I don't want to hang out with them. But it's just like, I don't relate to that lifestyle. When I used to work at the salon, only a select, like, few of us actually would like stop in between clients and go pray. And so it's just never something that that lifestyle was never something that I was like, that was for me. Okay. Is how I'm now realizing as I'm older.
The cosmetic industry was like a $49 billion industry last year. Either last year or the year before. And that just shows you how big of an impact it has on all these young girls coming up, making them feel like, no, this is what you need.
I actually feel bad at the amount of money that they're spending and wasting on these products, on these appointments. It's crazy. Yeah. And they feel like they need all this stuff, like TikTok, social media. It's just
that's it. They're convinced that that's the only way that they're supposed to live their life.
Like these preteens that are buying all the skincare. Yeah. I don't even use that much skincare, and I'm in my 30s. And my niece always talks about all these things she wants to buy. And these products are like hundreds. Very They're very expensive. It's just sad. Yeah. Where we're taking our girls.
Well, Charlene, I wish you the best of luck on your journey going forward. Thank you. It was very pleasant talking to you.
Thank you.
I hope that a lot of people see what you're talking about and realize that shouldn't be the case with you too, Yeah.
I hope so. I hope it's perceived well and not taken the wrong way.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you.